Hello, and welcome to Networking with Michelle. You are tuned into the podcast dedicated to enhancing your professional development by nurturing relationships and navigating the professional maze. Michelle Gomez is the founder of Line 25 Consulting and author of the book Network, Navigate, and Nurture, The Equation to Strategic Networking. Here now is Michelle Gomez.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Networking with Michelle. Today's guest is Dr. Dion Metzger, is a board-certified adult psychiatrist that has studied at Emory University and earned her doctorate of medicine from Morehouse School of Medicine. Dr. Metzger, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. So we had the pleasure of meeting just last weekend in Austin during the Blogging While Brown conference. What was your take on everything?
Well, it was my first time going to a blogging conference, and I had a ball.
Good.
I just thought it was just so valuable, all the people I got to meet and just all the logistics of blogging conferences that I've never known about. It was a great new experience for me and a very great change of pace from medical conferences, I must say.
A little bit lighter, a little more.
Just a little bit lighter, but they're fun in other ways. But this was kind of a breath of fresh air to try something new that I've never done before.
So are you planning to start blogging more? You have an awesome website, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I am. I am trying to blog a little bit more, just kind of increase my exposure and really blogging about what's going on in the world and what is interesting to people and go from there.
So obviously you have an impressive educational background. Go ahead and tell us a bit about your career journey and what you're doing right now.
Okay. Well, I decided to go into medicine actually from a young age, probably from like high school. I had always had an interest in the sciences and just biology and just figured that that's what I wanted to do. My dad was also a physician and he inspired me. And then so when I started college, I moved to Atlanta from New York, started at Emory University and just started on the path. And I became really involved in our minority pre-medical society. And I also started just doing some internship stuff and working in hospitals and trying to figure out where I fit in and what I would love to do. I actually started off medical school wanting to become an ophthalmologist and wanting to do LASIK surgery. And what I realized in medical school, in our third year, we get to try all the different specialties. In the third year, I realized that I loved psychiatry and I loved just the gift of being able to treat symptoms of mental illness. I just thought that that was just such a wonderful gift. And it really played off of my major that I had in college, which was psychology. So everything just kind of came together. And I clearly loved Atlanta because I went back to Emory for my residency and been here ever since. But, just kept pursuing that. And one good thing is that after I finished residency, I really got some great opportunities to work in all different aspects of psychiatry. Like I've worked in the hospitals, I went to private practice, and now I'm doing community psychiatry where I work with patients who are kind of in and out of the jail system or in and out of the hospitals because they don't have good access to care and they're not getting proper treatment. And we are federally funded to kind of help them, give them the resources, help them get their Medicaid and get them on their feet and just get them back into society. And it's really been a pleasure. I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and it's been gratifying is an understatement. It's just been a really wonderful experience.
So how long did it take you to complete your education?
Well, if I were to count it, 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, and then 4 years of residency. So 12 years total.
Okay, so that is true. Okay.
It is that is really a fact. And the thing is, and I chose psychiatry, if you choose another specialty, it can be sometimes 7 years of residency, depending on what you choose. So 4 years was actually on the shorter end, believe it or not.
Okay. I didn't want to throw any numbers out. I didn't know if it was true or false. Okay.
Yeah, it's very, very true.
So, as we know, at least me growing up, our parents want us to be doctors and lawyers and stay in school forever, which I was in school that long just for my bachelor's. But during that time, I got a couple of questions, actually. Now, I would say over the past probably 5 to 10 years, there's been a big push on STEM programs. Did you see that growing up, and what's your take on it right now?
Tell me about the STEM programs. Which one are you referring to?
Well, just in general, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I feel like a lot of, teachers and everyone is just pushing towards that.
Yeah, and the thing is, what I've noticed even in back home in New York, I noticed that a lot of the schools, like in the inner cities, they're actually pushing a lot for, especially with the males, and trying to push them towards engineering and sciences and mathematics. And I didn't really participate in it when I was growing up, but I'm all for it. You can only see positive results coming from it. And sometimes a lot of people don't know about all the different careers you can have. Because like you said, growing up, you hear about, the best things to do is be a doctor or a lawyer. And those are the two things that equal success. And if you don't do either of those, it's not the same. And that is so not true. And that's one thing that I learned even in medical school. And it's just like, there's so many different opportunities and you put so much work into school and becoming what you want to be. It's just like, go for where your passion's at, go for your heart, because this, life is short and you just really have to do what you enjoy, because we spend so much hours, at work on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I agree. And, I believe in mentorship and business coaches, but in your case, your father was a doctor. So do you think because of his profession that led to some more exposure that you were more inclined to go that route? And did he encourage you during that process?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The very interesting thing is my father actually did not push me to go into medicine. He was encouraging of me to follow my dreams, but there was no pressure coming from his side to go into the medical field. It really was me. And I just kept wanting to do it. And he was like, okay, whatever you want to do, we will support you. And I got that support from both of my parents, where it wasn't pressure to be in one particular career. But once I told them what I wanted to do, they were like, okay, we will support you. My dad was an OBGYN, which is kind of on the complete other end of the spectrum of what I do. And so I really got exposed to medicine from when I was younger, just, going with him to rounds and always asking him, why does your pager keep going off in the middle of the night? Women love to have babies at 3 a.m. So it was more frustrations when I was younger. But then as I got older and I kind of started going with him to the office and to his private practice, I was like, this is really cool. And I was just like, this is a really noble profession. So that's when I think when the spark came in me, where rather than thinking about it as something that's keeping dad, up late night, now it's something it's pretty cool. It's pretty noble to say, my dad delivers babies or my dad treats this. He's a surgeon. So I really was able to grasp it, I think, when I got into my adolescence and just say, oh, it's so cool. And as cheesy as it sounds, I kind of want to be like dad and really be able to treat people medically. And it's been a wonderful decision. That's
warming. So whether it's education or just life in general, what has been one of your biggest hurdles?
Biggest hurdles. And you're going to find this very funny, but I actually did not like public speaking.
We had such a great conversation last weekend.
I did not like public speaking. And I'm going to be very honest. Like when I had to do any kind of presentations, I was just like, I would dread them from days before. And, med school, we don't do it as much as you may do it in some other kind of arenas, like business arenas or networking. So I just did not like it. I did not like having to go up in front of people and teach. And then when I got after I was finished with medical school and I realized that I was doing a lot of teaching, I was like, wait a minute, I actually like to do this. I actually like it. And I realized that it was more just my anxiety and my fear of the unknown that was kind of overcoming me. And it really was not as bad as I thought it was. And I will always be a huge supporter of them. I even joined Toastmasters, which was one of the best decisions that I made in terms of just practicing public speaking and speaking in front of others. And it was just such a supportive group. I'm actually still part of the group now. And that, I would have to say, was a huge hurdle that I overcame. I went from hating to speak in front of my class of 10 to being able to speak on a large platform such as national television. And that's just a testament to God and also just being able to just face your challenges head on.
Absolutely. So what has been your most significant success so far?
When I think about my successes, and I always think about the progress that I've seen in my patients, because those are like the most amazing things to me. With working in community psychiatry, I work with a lot of patients who have pretty severe psychosis. So meaning like they have like diagnoses like schizophrenia, and to the point that, they're either homeless or they're not able to work, or just they're not able to function because the psychosis, where they're hearing voices or maybe having other visual hallucinations, it's affecting them that severely that they really can't function as a human being every day. Sometimes they won't even leave the room. But being able to treat somebody with that, like I have a patient be able to not only join society, but be able to work and be able to have improved relationships with their family and just have a better life as a result of us providing the best treatment that we can. That by far is like my best success. Other than my personal one, for professionally, I love it when that happens. When I just see such a 180 in terms of their progress.
You're very giving. I always say when it comes, my mom, she works for the state with individuals that are MH and MR, mental health, mental retardation.
Oh, yes.
And I also believe those professions, teachers, even police officers, firefighters. I just feel like when you put yourself in that environment, in that profession, it takes a very special person, and that's the actual calling.
Right.
Not just, a career or a job. Like, you're meant to do that, especially over a long period of time.
And like, you get a reminder every day that this is what you're meant to do. You get kind of that satisfaction on a daily basis.
Okay, so with such a challenging job, I guess, how do you challenge yourself in your personal life to kind of balance everything?
Well, the thing is, with medicine, it's kind of always changing. So we're always in learning mode. There's always new advances. There's always new medications hitting the market. There's always new patients that you'll see with new diagnoses. So I would say with that by itself, you're always challenging yourself. But a personal challenge that I've had is recently I just had a baby in March. So I am balancing motherhood.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's my second. So I have a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old at home.
Oh, wow.
And that has been, I'm telling you, the biggest learning experience compared to everything else. Just becoming a parent, in addition to a wife and a doctor, but balancing all 3 of those it's been humbling, I should say that first, but it's just been a really great learning experience and something that I'm learning every day. That's where my kids teach me something new every day.
Definitely. I have some of my best conversations are with the toddlers.
Yes. So, and it's just like their minds are like sponges. They're just open to everything.
Hey, so I do kind of want to pivot a little bit. In my opinion, this month of June, I just feel like the news has been bananas. It's
oh my gosh! Yes.
I mean,
it has, and it's still, and June isn't even over yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And today is June 26th. So the Supreme Court just ruled the gay marriage. We also have the Charleston funerals. I didn't have a chance to watch it, but I do want to talk about Charleston a little bit here.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you work with mentally ill patients. So we have Dylan Roof, a 21-year-old white male that sat among congregation during a Wednesday Bible study among 12 African Americans. He sat there for an hour. And then as soon as they got into the scripture, that's when he pulled the gun out and he started shooting and stating racial slurs. So do you think a person, after doing that act, is that person mentally ill?
The thing is, and this is a trend that I've noticed, is that when we see such a heinous crime committed, often we're quick to go to the mental, when I say we, I mean like as a media, they're quick to give a mental illness label. And sometimes I think it's too quick. As a matter of fact, with him, I thought it was too quick because we didn't know much about the history. We just saw a young white male who committed this awful crime. It's just so heartbreaking. Even just hearing you talk, kind of retell it, it's just heartbreaking. But it was just, the instant thing was to think that this was a mental illness. And no, my answer is no, that you don't have to have a mental illness to commit such a crime. This case, it was very premeditated, where a lot of times when there's violence in mental illness, often it's impulsive. And it's often something that is not as premeditated as you had seen in this case. But, with it said, and as a psychiatrist, I can't diagnose without actually seeing him as a patient. But what I can say is that I've noticed a trend that where we were quick to give a mental illness diagnosis when we see such a bad crime committed. But it's not always A goes to B. It's not always that in order to do this, you have to have a mental illness. I don't think it's that cut and dry.
So I have 2 questions right now. Can we consider this a hate crime? And is it considered a genocide as well?
First, hate crime, I'd say yes.
Okay.
Just given, the fact, he pretty much confessed that it was a hate crime, that he was doing this, that to start a racial war, and, all of the racial slurs that he was saying during the times. We can pretty much say that this was targeted out of hate for the African American race. For a genocide, I wouldn't say, just because it wasn't such a mass number of people that I would use the word genocide, but I would use the word massacre. Okay. In terms of just the way this happened and the fact that 9 people were murdered. I'd use that word. Wouldn't use genocide, but in this case, it's definitely evidence of a massacre.
Okay. And from my information, from my knowledge, is there a certain number, or how can we distinguish that?
There's not really an exact number, but just for me, generally, when I think of genocide, I think of like hundreds. Okay. And I'm not being exact, but that's in terms of my personal opinion, that's how I think of it. Yeah. It's just so heartbreaking. It took me almost a week to fully grasp it in terms of that it really happened.
Did you watch the video of his best friend, and I'm going to say his black best friend, and the things that he said?
I didn't watch it. What did he say?
He believes that Dylan is not a racist. Basically, their past conversations, Dylan had explained he was going to shoot up a local university, and somehow he made it to the church. But I guess some of the stir this past week was that since this black boy, I don't know if his name was even mentioned, I can't remember, but since this black boy, who is his friend, is on camera pretty much standing up against him, and he's saying, you know, my friend is not a racist. And because he shot these people, that doesn't mean he is a racist. It's not. So there's a lot of wrongs, in my opinion. There's a lot of wrongs in that. I feel that, you know, just because you have one friend of...
That's not enough. Yeah.
And I mean, like, there's no certain number, but there's a gap.
And the thing is, I'm curious that if it wasn't racially motivated, what does he think motivated it? That would be my question.
But I think more importantly, it was like, well, you're having conversations with a friend about shooting some people at some place and you didn't report it. Mm-hmm. So whether it was the local church or the university, you still didn't report it and do nothing about it. That was my issue.
Right. And like, I wonder how far in advance did he know about this?
So, you know, I love to talk to people. I'm always fascinated by stories. So I truly believe that there's good people of all colors here in the world, you know, worldwide. But however, because of the awareness of racial tension over the past couple of years, I really like it when white people do stand up and acknowledge white privilege. They're protesting. Well, earlier this year, they were protesting. They're speaking up. They're creating videos. They're commenting on Facebook. Things are going viral. So do you think this is the beginning of us going in the right direction as far as saying, you know, discrimination still exists, white privilege exists? Are we heading in the right direction in order for us to acknowledge it and possibly change it?
Absolutely. And I think by speaking out, and not even just white people, but everybody, all races speaking out about this. Although one specific race was targeted in this incident, if every race of, you know, just really spoke up against it, because it's no matter what, it's hate. And we are against that. And I totally agree that we're moving in the right direction. And something that you said, that you believe there's good in all people of all different races. And that's something that we have to remember, because it's a natural human reaction when something like this happens for people to want to put a stereotype and a complete label on race. And to think that, well, all white people must be this way. And that's not the case. That's not the case. And sometimes it's out of the fear, and sometimes it's just out of being so mad that it happened. And it happens going vice versa within all races. But just remembering that there's good in everybody, and the more and more people speak out of it, whichever the race, the better. And I think the more races we have involved speaking out against this, the better. You know, I believe when it comes to this and trying to go against hate, it's really in trying to promote love. The more, the merrier, and the more powerful it is, it's when you have the most numbers. And that's just how I see it.
I love it. So with technology, my friend and I always have this conversation, and I'm going to give you the sister version.
Okay.
She says, it's always been open season on Black people. We're just aware of it because of technology and social media. So do you think we are using technology the right way? You know, are we recording these videos? You know, if we do get stopped, regardless of, we don't know what we did. If we get stopped, should we immediately pull out our phones and start recording audio or video and sending it to someone just to, you know, cover ourselves?
You know, the thing with technology is I see it as a good thing because it brings awareness. And with awareness, you bring on change. So we need to be aware of what's going on. So I see it as a good thing that there's more eyes. Look at all these recent cases where there's video of, you know, even with a police incident, we would have never known. So I see it as being nothing but a positive, where we have to know what's going on in order to change it.
So as a African-American community, how can we respond to this effectively without all the negative tension and feel safe, you know, within our community?
Well, just remembering, and I love what you said, that we just have to remember that there's good in all people, and that one person's actions doesn't represent a whole race or a whole, you know, because sometimes not even just race, you might even say regions, like, oh, the South is so racist, or, you know, America, so, you know, it just try not to label, try your best not to. And especially with like all the negative attention that the whole state of South Carolina is getting now. just trying your best to realize that there's good people and there's good in people of all races. And I know that can be tough. That can be tough because one thing with the technology is we get so much exposure to it. Yeah. Like since this has happened, we get Twitter and Facebook and TV and print, and you just see it so much. And that's all the images. Like I probably saw Dylan Roof's picture like probably 30 times in one day. Just you keep getting like these visuals. And it's a lot because all of that exposure can kind of almost brings the trauma back of hearing about it in the first place. Like, when you're seeing the pictures or when they show the hearing when he was like kind of on video, it's tough because our natural reaction is to be so angry that this happened and feel unsafe. But I think at this time, you just have to remember that there's good in people. And also, and I'm somebody is spiritual and just believing that God is watching over you and just can't keep doing what you're doing, but just trying to remember that if you live peacefully, that hopefully that you'll be protected. And I know some people are going to think that this is just so just optimistic, but I'm an optimistic person. And I just can't think of any other way to function, especially, as a mother, as bringing a new generation into this world. It's just hard for me to accept that 20 years from now, I'm going to be talking about an incident like this to my kids. I just want to hope for something better. I really do.
I agree. And I just definitely want to take this moment to state that, we are definitely praying for the families in Charleston.
Absolutely.
And we wish them the best. So once again, in regards to the mental health awareness within our African-American community, unfortunately, we don't talk about it too much.
No.
If it is mentioned, I don't even know if shunned is the right word.
Yeah, there's a big stigma.
It's a stigma. It's a sign of weakness, or you need to go to church and pray it away. Oh, yeah. So that is one of the most common ones I hear. Yeah, and I haven't seen my therapist in some time, but I have been to therapy multiple times. The longest period was probably over 2 to 3 years. And I would tell people, well, I have an appointment with my therapist, can we meet later? Or whatever the case,
Mm-hmm.
I would bring it up very comfortably.
Yeah.
You got a therapist. What's wrong with you? Like nothing's wrong.
Right, like something has to be wrong.
What's wrong with you? And I don't know. It's, people just look at you funny and the eyebrow goes up and attitude starts to come out a little bit. And what do you think we can do just to say it is okay for us to go speak to someone about this problem so we can become better?
Really, once again, I come back to awareness. And this is part of my motivation to really go to these bigger platforms of television and print radio is to really advocate for that. Is because what I had noticed in my days of private practice is that Black people don't really like to go to psychiatrists or they just don't go. One of the main reasons I heard, because I used to do a poll like, wait, you've been suffering with this for so long. Why didn't you come, why don't you go see somebody? And they were like, well, I don't want to be labeled as crazy. I don't want anybody to know I'm taking medications. I don't want to stop me from getting a job. So usually the concern was, I'm going to get this label and I think people are going to judge me and treat me differently. So one thing about that, I think for us to really start encouraging people to seek treatment is just educating. I just talk about depression when I blog about it. These are the symptoms of depression. You can get help. You can get better. You can seek treatment. And it's such night and day when, even because I treat a lot of schizophrenia now, but even treating depression, it's such a big difference when somebody gets treated in terms of, depression, I always say can be just as paralyzing. I filled out disability paperwork for people who can't go to work because of depression. It's something that can be just as paralyzing as certain physical illnesses where you don't have motivation to get out of bed. You're sleeping, your appetite changes. It can affect you from head to toe. And what's really scary about depression is that it can lead to suicidal thoughts. And sometimes that can end fatally. And that's the part that's scary. And that's why I always say to people, I always give a comparison. If you had high blood pressure and you could go to a doctor who could help you lower your blood pressure, would you go? And most people say yes. And I said, but what if your blood pressure is so high that it stopped you from doing things? It stopped you from socializing. It stopped you from enjoying time with your kids or with your spouse. Would you go? And they're like, most definitely. So I said, okay, now let's change the word. Depression. Depression can do all of those things. They can stop you from enjoying your life. A classic symptom is something called anhedonia, where things you used to find fun, you no longer find pleasure in it. So if you love to read books, when you're depressed, you couldn't care less. You're not motivated to read anymore. If you were to do it, you don't find enjoyment in it. But I just always use that comparison to show you that you can have that same level of impairment from a mental illness. And the beauty of it is you can be treated. You can be treated, and you really can. It's almost like, I remember one of my patients had described it such a perfect way. She said that when she was depressed, unless she was dealing with it for 10 years and did not want to go to the doctor, because the same thing I said, didn't want to be labeled. And she said it was like she was always being followed by a gray cloud. I think there's even a commercial for something for a medication like that now, but always followed by a gray cloud, where everything always just looked cloudy and just dreary. And then once she got treated, she was able, it's like the sun came out. It's like the cloud went away. So I think that's something to really consider, is that just go get evaluated. And I always tell people, they're like, well, I don't want to be on medicine. I said, medicine is not the only way to treat a lot of these illnesses. There's therapy, there's, exercise, there's other options. You don't necessarily have to be on a psychiatric medication. So just go. That's all I'm asking. Just go and get evaluated. Because if something can improve your quality of life, why not?
Definitely. I know one of the reasons why I went, I felt like I had a series of bad relationships. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I think I'm the common denominator. I have an idea of what's wrong with me, but let me go discuss it with someone.
Yeah.
And I went through my employer. I started out with, 4 or 5 free sessions. So please check with your employer, yes. Especially with a lot of these major companies.
And I've actually done that before, where I've worked with an employer and I was a psychiatrist on staff. So that is something that a lot of people did not know they had as a benefit on their job. Find out.
Yes, the resources are there, and it's private. Yeah. You call into a 1-800 number.
Yep.
It's anonymous, so don't be afraid. But I had 4 or 5 free sessions, and you can go to one person or different people. Just, and be aware that you can interview people as well. Don't feel like you just have to see this one person. But I learned so much about myself, and I think somewhere during our relationship, I had asked my therapist, like what do you put on my paperwork? Is there a diagnosis for me? Yeah. And she was like, no, it's just general. And I was like, okay, so I'm just saying that I'm proud that I've seen a therapist. Hopefully by the little information that I am sharing, it can encourage someone to see a therapist. But more importantly, we are going to have a link to your website, to your blog, so the audience can go there.
Absolutely.
And look at, different articles to encourage them as well.
Yes. And that's the thing that I say, I always, and I'm probably like a broken record to my family and friends, so I always say everybody can benefit from therapy. I probably said it to you when I saw you last weekend. But it's just, I believe it. Like, everybody can benefit. It's just having some non-biased person sitting and listening to you. Even just you telling your story is therapeutic. Even if they don't say a word back to you at first. Like, you just letting it out and venting is something that can be therapeutic and can help you. So I just,
that's true therapy. Because talking to my friends, I think, had me a lot worse.
Because sometimes they can, and it can be like, and they might have your best interests, but they're biased because they're your friends, or they might be trying to protect you, or they might be on the other end of the spectrum and they're being kind of a little bit too mean, which can happen too. But it's just sometimes you just talk to a professional.
Yeah.
Sometimes just do it and see what happens. And almost all the time, every time I tell somebody to try it, when they come back, they were like, I don't know why I didn't do that sooner. I said, yeah, see? Yeah, because it just makes such a big difference.
Yeah, it does. I remember sharing that to this one gentleman in passing, and somehow he confided in me he had a fear of flying. Mm-hmm. And this is
a very common fear.
I just saw this brother in passing. It was more, hey, how are you doing? How's work? How's business? And that's it, surface conversation. And I said that, and we literally stood there for about an hour talking about my therapy sessions and his fear of flying. And I was like, look, when I get home, I'm going to email you all of her information. I said, she only deals with women, but I think she can direct you, in the right place. I'm sure she has some friends. And before you know it, he followed through and he got help. So It doesn't always have to be a mental, well, I don't know if a mental thing is the right thing to say, but it could be.
You don't always have to have a diagnosis.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. And, even with relationships, you brought up the fact that, that's kind of what prompted you to go in was just having issues with relationships. That's usually one of the most common reasons that people go in, either having issues with dealing with a breakup or even marital therapy. Sometimes couples counseling is the first time people go see a therapist because they're trying to fix their marriage or getting ready to or start a marriage and want to have counseling beforehand. But yeah, you don't have to have a diagnosis. You could just have a stressor. And let me tell you something, humans, we have stressors. Like, it's just natural. It's life. It's life. And there's nothing wrong with going to therapy. And it can be completely confidential. And as a therapist, we're not even supposed to say what your name is. So it's completely confidential. And because sometimes people have a fear of that. I used to, even in my private practice, I used to have patients who would park all the way in the back. So their cars wouldn't be in. And I was like, that's fine. Do what you got to do. That's fine. Show up. Yeah. That's fine. But that just shows you just like how much people want to protect their confidentiality in terms of that.
Okay. So everyone, consider this your first therapy session.
Yes.
All right. So we're about to wrap up here. This has just been great information. So what do you have planned for the next 6 to 12 months?
So the next 6 to 12 months, now that I am done with pregnancy and I have my babies, I'm getting back into the TV world. So I'm hoping to do some more health corresponding. I do have a focus in mental health, but I also just talk from an MD perspective, talking about the new kind of things that are going on in the health world, the new discoveries and all the new press and everything. So I hope to be doing that and just blogging. Now that I came back from my blogging conference, I have more expertise. So definitely blogging more and just getting more into my social media and still doing radio. I actually just recently did radio last month and I enjoyed it. So radio, TV, you never know. You might see me soon.
Yeah. And if you can do some more podcast interviews.
Absolutely. Just give me a call. I'm down.
Great. So let's see here. How do you define success?
Well, I have to take a quote, and I think I actually put on my Instagram a quote that, and I'm paraphrasing, Lecrae gave at the conference. Do you remember? It was, success is what you are currently doing compared to what you were created to do. So basically he was saying, when you follow what your passion is, if you follow what you were created to do, is the definition of success. And I just totally agree. I mean, success is happiness. Success is happiness. When you get up every day and you are happy doing what you're doing, that's success to me. Because, one thing that I've realized in my profession is a lot of people don't like what they do. A lot of people don't like what they do. And I think success is finding happiness professionally.
Yeah, he said a lot of inspirational quotes that day, but that one really hit home because I'm always hard on myself. So yeah, thanks for
that. I know, we're our own worst critics. Like, that's just a fact. And not be so hard on ourselves.
I'll remember that tomorrow.
Yes, that's part of your therapy session for today.
So I know I'm going to have your website on the show notes, but just in case, how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, sure. So my website is DionMetzger&nbsp.com, and all one word, DionMetzgerMD.com. And that's my tagline for everything. So Dion Metzger MD is my Twitter name as well. And you can also come on to Facebook and like my page. And that's Dion Short Metzger MD. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can email me at info@DionMetzgerMD.com. And I'd be happy to talk with you. But talk to me on Twitter. I need to get more into responding. So if you want to talk to me, come on, just tweet me. I'm trying to get better with it.
Hey, everyone. There you have it. You're going to get free therapy sessions.
Look at that. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't say free therapy. But we can talk. Because therapy, because I want people to go to the therapist who need it. But I can give some advice. You're right.
You're going to get great encouragement on Twitter.
I can encourage, yes. Because, I want people to go to therapy because I just think it's so wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, Dion, I definitely want to thank you for being so generous with your knowledge and your time.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah, everyone, please go to michellegomez.com for show notes. If you have been blessed by this episode, please share with your friends. And remember, a personal connection leads to an influential network. Thanks for networking with Michelle.